Troy, 1180 BC. The city is on fire. Sling stones litter the streets, dropped by defenders who ran out of time. Nobody knows who is attacking, and nobody will for 3,000 years. Troy, buried under a hillside in Turkey, dismissed as myth, but before that fire, this was one of the most powerful cities in the Bronze Age world. Walls 9 meters high, a harbour controlling every ship between 2 oceans, a city so wealthy that poets turned it into legend. I used AI to reconstruct what Troy actually looked like at its peak, based on real archaeology. We're going to walk through the gates, explore every building, and see this city the way it looked 3,200 years ago. Imagine sailing toward Troy in 1250 BC. You're approaching from the Aegean Sea, entering the Dardanelles, the narrow strait connecting the Mediterranean to the Black Sea. Every merchant ship, every warship, every grain shipment between 2 oceans had to pass this point. The first thing you would see are the walls. 9 meters of solid stone angled outward at the base, a technique so advanced that nothing like it would be built again for centuries. These walls told you one thing before you even stepped ashore. This city had power. And 3,000 years later, those walls are still there. Shorter now, eroded, but the same stones. You'd enter through the main gate, up a stone ramp wide enough for chariots. The gate itself was flanked by towers. Anyone approaching was visible to the guards above. And once inside, you'd see a city that rivaled anything in the Bronze Age world. The citadel was the heart of Troy. This was where the elite lived, the king, the priests, the warriors. The buildings were stone with timber frames and flat roofs. At the center stood the Megaron, the Great Hall. A massive room with a columned porch, a central hearth, and walls painted in rich colors. This is where the king held court, where decisions about trade, war, and alliances were made. Today, all that's left is a rectangle of stones in the ground. But in 1250 BC, this room would have been alive with firelight and voices. Surrounding the Great Hall, storage rooms filled with massive clay jars holding grain, olive oil, wine. Troy's wealth was stored here. The citadel was both palace and warehouse. But here's what nobody knew until the 1980s. The citadel wasn't the whole city. It wasn't even most of it. Below the citadel walls, a full city spread out across 30 hectares, 16 times larger than archaeologists had thought for over a century. Dense neighborhoods, workshops, markets, thousands of people. In the lower city, craftsmen produced purple dye from seashells, one of the most valuable commodities in the ancient world, worth more than gold by weight. The lower city was protected by a massive ditch cut directly into the bedrock with a wooden wall behind it, not as imposing as the citadel walls, but effective. Anyone attacking Troy had to cross that ditch first. That ditch is still visible today. Cut into stone, it survived 3 millennia. Walk down from the citadel toward the coast and you'd reach Troy's harbour. This was the engine of the city's wealth. Troy sat at the only passage between the Aegean and the Black Sea. Copper from Cyprus, grain from the Black Sea coast, tin from the east, gold from Egypt, all of it passed Troy, and Troy took its cut. On any given day, you'd hear languages from across the ancient world. Greek traders from the west, Hittite merchants from the east, ships from Cyprus, from Egypt. The wealth showed in the houses: imported Greek pottery, bronze weapons, jewelry made from gold, and precious stones from as far as Afghanistan. Troy was a city that lived on trade, and it made its people rich. Today, the harbour is gone. The coastline has shifted. What was once a bustling port is now farmland. the sea retreated and Troy's reason for existence went with it. For over 400 years, Troy stood. Through earthquakes, through wars, through the rise and fall of empires around it. But around 1180 BC, it ended. The final Troy shows signs of fear. Storage jars crammed into houses, every room converted to food storage. This city was preparing for something. Then fire. Destruction so complete that the city was abandoned. Slingstones were found scattered, weapons dropped by defenders who ran out of time. Was this the Trojan War? We may never know for certain. But something destroyed this city in exactly the era Homer wrote about, and the evidence is still in the ground. Today, 9 layers of civilization sit stacked on this hill. Only 2 to 3% of the lower city has been excavated. Most of Troy, the houses, the workshops, the streets where people lived for 3,000 years, is still waiting to be found. And it's still buried under a hillside in Turkey. If you want to know who finally destroyed Troy and every other civilization in the Bronze Age, that story is right here.